Hello everybody, I'm off the charts and welcome to Scorched Earth. I will be spending 100 days in this desolate wasteland, filled with dragons, giant mantis, and a distinct lack of water. Aside from Genesis Part 1 and 2, this is the only paid DLC that I have no experience on, so I think this should be a pretty interesting adventure. Now you know the drill, grab your snacks, your drinks, sit back, and enjoy the show. The first day back into the fray of Ark Survival Evolved was not fun, as one could expect. Scorched Earth was the one map I had the least experience on out of all the DLC maps that I've played. And right off the bat, it was letting me know where my place in the food chain was. I died over and over and over again, up until I managed to place a tent by a raptor I had knocked out. It was level 10, but hopefully it was going to give me the edge I needed to survive. Once the raptor was tamed up, I named it Vanessa and I was back out on the road. While I was out and about, I actually managed to tame a parasaur that was next to a water vein, so I placed down my tent, placed a bed, and set up camp. I pretty much just spent the rest of the day doing everything I could to level up, but I did make myself a recipe, so I could get the most out of my food. I made a few actually. Then as the dawn of day 2 began to rise, I managed to bola and knock out a level 55 raptor. But pretty much immediately after that, I found a level 140 female raptor. And of course I wasn't going to pass that up, so of course I bolaed it and knocked it out. After the level 55 raptor was tamed, I brought it back to base, and then I spent some time building the foundations to my adobe house. It wasn't going to be anything too big, but it would be enough for now, at least until I could find a better base location. During the process of building the base, I got a little bit distracted and ended up knocking out an Anki for future metal harvesting. Then shortly after that, the level 140 was tamed up and I brought her home. And then it was back to getting materials for the base. Why did clay have to be so goddamn expensive in this map? I trapped a kangaroo with my tames and knocked it out and tamed it. And just as my kangaroo was tamed up, my raptors popped out a fertilized egg. I then went out and hunted some bugs for chitin, because I was going to need it for saddles in the future. I finally built myself a water well, so I placed that down next to base, and now I could finally make a water skin to fill up. Then I finally managed to finish my tower. It was time to start construction on the second half of my temporary base. It was just going to be a small little thing, a place I could put my bed, preserving bins, and my smithy and forge. Made myself a farm plot for narcoberries, went out for a late night metal run, and made myself some iron tools. And then day 3 I finally made myself a crossbow. Construction on the second portion of the base continued, and it was coming out quite nicely. My baby raptor was fully grown, so I slapped a skin on her and took her out for a spin, and my god did she destroy. With Raven around, I was pretty much safer on my base now. I rolled a Dodic back to base that I had tamed for sand gathering, and with the Dodic's help, just as a super heat wave hit, I was able to finish the roof to the second portion of my base. Remodeled the walkway between both parts of my base. I hatched a second raptor egg to add to my hunting pack. And just as day 3 started to come to a close, I went out looking for a Lymantria. You know, one of those big fly moth boys? They aren't very good as flyers, but they'd be good enough for now. Unfortunately, I didn't find any. Opened a shit purple drop, and day 4 started by me killing a Lymantria with some trank arrows, cause I'm stupid. I opened an okay-ish yellow drop. I also replaced my forge and smithy on the deck to my new base. But after that, I did manage to knock out Lymantria. Just like my first raptor, it was only level 10, but it would be enough until I got an Argentavis. And after it was tamed, I flew it back to base. Things were looking up. Speaking of Argentavis, I actually did knock one out and start taming it while I opened yet another shitty purple drop. The Argentavis was only level 20, but I'm settling at this point. I'll have plenty of time later on to get new ones. Just as my 4th day began to wind down, I managed to trap a level 10 male Argentavis. I only needed it so I could actually have a decent flying mount with good weight. And then on the dawn of day 5, I hatched an Argentavis egg and named the baby after a long-lost friend. Then I hatched another raptor egg and got twins, 2 more soldiers to add to the pack. Besides let them grow, all I had to do was style them up. And then after that, I managed to tame another kangaroo. I was all set for breeding. And then after I got them back to base, they popped out a baby, and I named it Spring. And then I made myself a cryopod. And as I went out mapping around my surroundings with Raven, I came across the Wyvern Trench, which gave me an idea. Of course, playing through Scorched Earth, I was going to get a Wyvern eventually. It was a necessity. I had gotten Wyverns on other maps, like Ragnarok, for example, so I had a good deal of experience in doing so, but I knew I didn't have a flyer that would be fast enough to get away from all the Wyverns after I grabbed an egg. But what I did have was a moth, and an imprinted kangaroo, or soon to be imprinted. If I could grab an egg and get back to my kangaroo before the wyverns caught me, I would have been home free. So through the night of day 5, I went around looking for loot drops, for anything that could help me with my plan. And while I didn't find anything exactly useful for the plan, I did find a good few items and blueprints, as you can see here. Day 6 and I was back at the Wyvern Trench, and it was time to enact my grand plan. Or, well, die trying. Okay. Okay, that wyvern is stuck. What level? 90, okay. Come on, lamp. Go, 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 go. Get to spring, get to spring. Okay, do I have time? I do. Go. Go. There's no way in hell I just successfully yoinked a level 90 wyvern egg. Oh, not even day 10. I already got a wyvern egg. It was only day 6 and I had managed to sneak into the Wyvern Trench and just yoink a level 90 lightning wyvern egg. It was incredible. The only reason I survived that was because the one wyvern that was close to me was stuck in a wall. I'm like 100% sure if that wyvern had not been stuck or had gotten out, I'd have been dead. I would have been roasted. And then once I got home, I wanted to hatch it, but I didn't have air conditioners or the utilities to make them. So naturally, I just built like 25 campfires. And it worked. Who needs fucking air conditioners, right? Not this guy. Though I am gonna die if I stay here. And then 16 minutes later, I had myself a baby lightning wyvern. Once he was away from the campfires, I named him Thunder. All I need is lightning, and I have a perfect breeding pair. And then the rest of day 6 was pretty much just me preparing materials to go build a bigger base. I wasn't quite sure how I wanted it to look, so there was going to be a lot of fiddling with it. And then later on, I opened a purple loot drop and got a journeyman long neck and the blueprint for a mastercraft kite and chest plate. Then I opened a yellow loot drop and got even more goodies. Ow. Oh. Okay, well, ow is worth it apparently. It meant I was able to swap out the ramshackle long neck I had gotten previously from a blue loot drop. The final day of the first week was pretty much just resource gathering and building the new base. This was also the day that I got sick, so if you hear a dip in the audio quality, I apologize. But on day 8, I made up for the previous day's lackluster events by taking Thunder on a rampage. Anything that got in our path we would kill and then we would eat. I had to have repeated this process for at least half of the day until I finally found a worthy opponent. It was a tough battle. The alpha nearly took us down, but Thunder proved his strength by slaying the beast. And as a reward, we got a pair wyvern scale gauntlets and its head as a trophy. Despite Thunder's victory, he was very low on health. So after claiming our spoils of war, we headed back to base. While we let our boy heal, I had to come up with a plan to keep myself occupied. I was having a little bit of difficulty getting enough clay to make my adobe structures to finish the new base. So I unlocked myself the chemistry bench engram. So that was my next objective. So I started farming up materials. Metal, silica pearls, you know the deal. During that process, I may or may not have gotten killed by Thunder's lightning attack one too many times for my liking, but in the end I still had to wait for the metal to smelt, so I didn't really have much to do. So I went out looking for 2 higher level Argentavis to tame. As much as I love Ava, her carry capacity wasn't the greatest. But before I could tame any high levels, I got jumped by a pair of rock golems and got the shit scared out of me. Nope. No! Oh my god! Oh! Ah! Not cool. But luckily for me, after that I did manage to knock out 2 higher level Argentavis, 1 male and 1 female. And by day 9 they were both tamed. So after breeding them, I got back to building the new base. And while the project was taking a good deal of time, it was actually coming out quite nicely. Definitely a step up from my base on the island, at least in my opinion. And my god, did the build take an obscene amount of clay. Probably spent twice the amount of time getting clay than I did building my base. But with my new chemistry bench, things were going quite smoothly. Just to build the landing pad attached to what would be my crafting and smelting area, I had to build pillars all the way down the mountainside, which was probably the most laborious task of the build. But on the night of day 9, when it had finally cooled down enough, I hatched the egg I had gotten from my 2 high-level Argentavis. This baby bird would definitely be a step up when it came to hauling materials. The next day was pretty much just more base building. I finished the floor to what would be my rooftop greenhouse, and then I finished my landing pad. But I did go out and tame a dung beetle. Day 10 was a pretty boring day. The next day, however, was far more exciting. As I waited for metal to smelt for an industrial forge, I was out at the Wyvern trench cycling through the eggs. I wanted to kill as many low-level wyverns as possible to cycle in some higher-level ones so I could get some better eggs. I still needed a lightning wyvern, fire wyvern, and poison wyvern that were all over level 100. The easiest way to get better eggs is to just take the low levels and kill the low levels. So that's what I did. I did end up dying during that process, however, and unfortunately, as I had used Spring to get back to my dead body, she got attacked by a scorpion. So I tried to save her using my lightning breath, which ended up killing her. Yeah, I turned friendly fire off after that. During my raid on the Wyvern Trench, I found a level 140 Lightning Wyvern egg, which I was absolutely stoked about, because I would have a level 140 Lightning Wyvern. I mean, come on. But unfortunately, the Ark didn't seem to consider that idea a vibe, and it crashed my game. And after I loaded back on, I could not find that level 140 egg. So that was a bit of a bummer. So I decided to go home and just make a grave for Spring. He was my first real loss so far in the 100 days. Afterward, I kept myself occupied by making a few more smithies to smelt metal faster, since I wanted to make that industrial forge, and patience is not my strongest attribute. And since I had to wait for the metal to smelt, I went out and knocked out a rather, well, phallic-looking dino, for lack of a better description. And I did so because I was going to need something with a platform saddle in the future. Because before the 100 days was up, I had to knock out and tame a rock elemental, which would need something at least a little bit mobile that could have a cannon on it. So I figured this was a good start. And then at nighttime I went out and killed my first giant worm. Day 12 started with a superheat wave, so I went out looking for a phoenix, as I also wanted to tame a phoenix before the 100 days was up, though it wasn't mandatory, due to their natural scarcity. Unfortunately, I had no luck in finding one though. It wasn't all in vain, since by the time I got back I was finally able to build and place my industrial forge. After that, it was pretty much just building up the crafting room until I could encase the forge. After that I was done, I was up on the 2nd floor, beginning the construction of my greenhouse. After it was finished, all I had to do was actually, pipe water up to it, which would be a little bit of an issue considering I based up on a cliff. But I had to wait for a sandstorm to be over anyway, so I had enough time to figure it out. And the best plan I could come up with was to slowly parachute down the side of the cliff and place flexible water pipes as I went. I mean, hey, it was easier than flying an Argentavis down and placing them that way. It actually took me the rest of the day to finish that. Day 13 was pretty much just a resource day. I took the Argentavis out for a metal run, and then I set up the kitchen, making myself both an industrial grill and an industrial cooker. Day 14 was another quick run through the Wyvern Trench, and this time I actually came out with a few good eggs. Specifically, I came out with 2 level 145 poison wyvern eggs, so that boosted my morale from the last time we were at the trench. And when I got back to base, I lit the campfires once more and hatched it. And once it was hatched, I named the little guy Tranks. Day 15 started with me knocking out yet another one of God's failed beta testing creatures, and then the rest of the day was pretty much just resource farming while I waited for it to tame up. I started off day 16 by making and placing an industrial grinder, so now I could just essentially grind down any useless items I got from drops. And by the time I was done that, Tranks was fully grown, so I took him out on a rampage. The only other thing of note I did that day was I tamed myself a tech parasaur for a project I had planned in the near future. I started the next day by going on a desert loot crate run. I wanted to find some better quality gear, and to do so I needed to find all the desert loot crate locations. So as I found them, I was marking them on my map. However, for some reason, as you will see later on in the series, the markers just sort of kept disappearing. But after doing that, I was finally out to tame a rock elemental. I didn't want to use the parasaur I had bred up because I knew she would likely die to the rock golem. Or at least I didn't want to use her yet. So instead I built a trap from a channel I had seen on YouTube, one that I have honestly watched for many years. And thanks to the ingenious design of said trap, I was able to knock out a level 90 rock elemental. Unfortunately, I didn't have the type of kibble that it preferred, so I would be feeding it sulfur to tame it, which was going to take a long time. Then later that night, I just pretty much did another desert loot crate run. I started day 18 by hatching myself a level 90 lightning wyvern egg. I already had my level 90 male, so I just needed a level 90 female, or higher of course, because I wanted to breed them. However, luck was not on my side, as when the little egg hatched, it was a boy. So of course I did what I do best. And after that, I was able to find, knock out, and tame that female tech parasaur I was looking for. And then once nighttime hit, I started building myself an egg hatching platform, so I could hatch eggs a little bit closer to the new base. Construction continued on into day 19. I only really took a break once my rock elemental was fully tamed up, which I of course named Everest, Alakma Mountains. And then it was back to construction. This hatching platform would technically have 3 levels. It would have the one closest to the ground where I would store my fridge for the eggs and the generator for the power. Then the second level would be where I put all the air conditioners, which would then allow things on the top floor to hatch from the air conditioners underneath it, so I didn't have any air conditioners clogging up the top area. Altogether, I was quite proud of how it was turning out. I like to think that my building skills have gotten a lot better since the island, and once it was ready, I started hatching a tech parasaur egg. My plan was to hatch a bunch of tech parasaur eggs, let them fully grow, and then slaughter every single one of them. Some would call it inhumane, I call it a long-term investment, since I would be getting a lot of scrap metal, electronics, oil, and just a little bit of element dust from it. After I knew the hatching pad would work, I went out to the Wyvern Trench and I got so lucky here. I found a level 170 lightning wyvern egg, which would mean my ability to get better wyverns was skyrocketing, and it meant I only had to find one more wyvern that was over level 100, and that was a fire wyvern. So I hightailed it home and started hatching the egg, because I was not risking losing this one to a crash. It took until a quarter way through day 20 for the little bugger to hatch, and sadly it was a male, so that just meant I'd still have to find a female, which I had time to do. And after that I started construction on another build. I had the hatching pad, now I needed a breeding pad, so that's what I was going to build. I was going to have the parasaurs breeding underneath it, and then I would have my wyverns breeding on top. So that's pretty much what I spent the rest of the day doing. Day 21, I hatched 2 more lightning wyvern eggs. They were lower levels and they were both female actually, so I just ended up choosing whichever one looked best to breed with for the male stats. I ended up losing a lamp while trying to tame another rock elemental, so that was unfortunate. So after that loss, I started on my parasaur plan. I was going to need to raise a lot of these little bastards, so that's what I spent the rest of the day doing, which is also what I spent all night doing, as you can see here. I took a break from the beginnings of the slaughterhouse to go try and tame another rock elemental, this time using an Argentavis instead of another Lymantria. I wanted to tame at least 4 more of these rock elementals because I was going to be taking them in with me to fight the manticore. I was hoping their damage resistance would help me in the battle. And then it was back to the slaughterhouse, hatching the last few eggs that I had and waiting for the parasaurs to grow up. And once they were all grown up, I started picking them up with my Argentavis and then moving them. I had to get them all separated before I could unclaim them. This process itself probably took at least an hour of real life time. It was not fun. But my god, were the results of the slaughter worth it. The amount of resources I got are as follows. 1,933 electronics, 1,958 oil, 1,886 scrap metal, and 1,776 element dust. If it wasn't for the impact on my FPS that this process had, I would do this a lot more often. Started off day 23 by hatching a pair of lightning wyvern eggs. Unfortunately, I didn't get the breeding female that I was looking for, so they went to the chopping block. After that, I wanted to make myself some better food recipes. I wanted to make one for food, and of course I wanted to make one for water, now that I had an industrial cooker. But to make the best possible recipes for the least amount of resources, I needed to have a really high crafting skill. And since I was already max level, there was only one way to get that crafting skill. I had to make myself a pair of mind wipe tonics. I had to make one to reset my levels to get the crafting skill, of course, but then I had to make one to reset my levels to something a little bit more useful as well, which meant I had to get 40 rare mushrooms and 40 rare flowers to make them. And my god, did that process take ages. But after I cooked them up, I made myself 2 really good looking recipes. And they would serve me well for the rest of my time on Scorched Earth. And then later on in the day, we finally managed to get that breeding female we were looking for. She had all the same stats as the high level male that I had, which meant it was time to get breeding. I wasn't going to be mutation breeding the lightning wyverns, I just wanted to be able to get one whenever I lost one. And I needed one that was better for combat. Thunder wasn't really cutting it anymore. And then after that, I went out looking for Rexes. All I could find was a level 45, so I decided I may as well just tame it and wait to see if I could find any better ones. But after that, I went and grabbed a new tamed rock elemental, whom I would come to name Kilimanjaro. And then I managed to knock out another rock elemental. It was level 25 though. Nothing too impressive. And while I was taking Kilimanjaro out on a killing spree to level him up, I came across a level 70 male Rex, which while not all that much better, it was leagues better than a level 45. So I of course knocked that boy out, and then a heat wave hit in the middle of the night. So I went flying around looking for the phoenix. I was certain that if I was going to find it, it would be at night. I was wrong. By day 24, the Rex was fully tamed, so I cryopotted it. And after taking Kilimanjaro out on a bit more of a rampage, my next rock elemental was fully tamed up, and I named the low level Denali. If you can't tell, there's a bit of a trend with naming them so far. And of course, following the tame of my 4th rock elemental, I made an Ascendant Rock Golem saddle from a blueprint I had gotten while doing desert loot runs. And then after that, I found a level 95 female Rex. And of course I ended up knocking her out, you kidding me? Anything above level 90 was rare on this map. And then shortly after I had her knocked out, I found my golden goose. I didn't even hesitate, it was on sight. I had to knock it out, it was level 140. And then as I waited for the level 140 to tame up through the night, I took Kilimanjaro out to fight a death worm. I almost lost Kilimanjaro in the process, but I did end up defeating the death worm, which also gave Kilimanjaro a good few levels. And then just before day broke, I managed to cryopod the now level 209 Rex. I started day 25 by breeding my fully grown breeding female and the breeding male lightning wyverns that I had. And once they popped out an egg, I moved them both off the breeding pad, because I was going to need some room. And then later the day, I hatched my first 2 Rex eggs. I was going to need a male and a female with the stats from the highest level Rex that I had, because I was going to do some mutation breeding. I accidentally gave Denali cryo sickness before I could level him up, so he's going to be stuck out in the desert for a while. But to make up for that loss, I finally hatched the lightning wyvern egg I got from my breeding pair. He had the nice black and purple design I was looking for, and later on I came to call him Odin. After that, I moved Francine's location and set up another trap. This time the trap was placed near the blue orb. I was still set on getting rock golems for at least the gamma boss fight, but as you will see later on in the video, that doesn't exactly go to plan. But before I tamed another rock elemental, I finally went out and made a few more cryopods. And then I went out and knocked out another rock elemental. I started off day 26 with a heat wave. The game was just throwing them at me at this point. It's like the game was giving me every opportunity possible to find the damn thing, and I just could not find it. Roughly a quarter of the way through day 26, Denali had finally woken up from his cryo sickness, so I took him out to get some levels. And then I got hit with yet another heat wave. Still couldn't find the phoenix. And then I started hatching some more Rex eggs, still looking for both a breeding male and a breeding female. And I eventually found the breeding male, and I labeled it 0 mutations. And then later that night, in the middle of a sandstorm, I got my first breeding female. And then after that, I decided to burn through some of the excess wyvern eggs I had. You don't need to worry about what Odin did to them, all you need to worry about is that I got levels from it. I started off day 27 by cryopotting my freshly tamed rock elemental. And then while trying to lead level 130 into the trap, I may or may not have gotten squashed. And Ray was taken out with me. And then once I got back to the level 130, I was able to knock the asshole out. I was very tempted to kill him, especially after he had killed Ray, but he was level 130, so I decided to just swallow my pride and tame him. And since this guy was level 130, I wanted to get the best possible taming effectiveness, which meant I would have to use the best possible kibble in-game, which meant I'd have to go get rare flowers, to go get bee honey. There is only one location that I was able to find on this map where giant beehives spawn. I spent so long looking for these fucking bees, it was so annoying. But eventually I was able to make the kibble that I needed. And then as I went to tame the rock elemental, I found out I was 1 kibble short of a perfect tame. Dododex lied to me. So that meant I had to lose damn near 6 levels just taming it with sulfur. This was not a happy tame. Then to take out some frustration, I hatched another pile of Rex eggs. I took a few of the females for breeding purposes, but then I just sort of slaughtered the rest. I was going to be fighting the Gamma Manticore in a few days, so I needed a cave mount that would help me get the artifacts. And the best thing I could think of was actually a direwolf, so I spent some time looking for some. I eventually came across a level 130 male, so of course I picked that up and knocked it out once I got somewhere safe, and then I did the same to a level 80 female. While I was waiting for a Daedon to tame, I ended up getting hit with yet another heatwave. Nothing new to report on the Phoenix. Once I threw both direwolves out of a cryopod, it was time to get them breeding. I used my Daedon's newfound healing capabilities and healed up Odin. I eventually remembered that my direwolves were still breeding and went to check on them, where I found a itty bitty puppy, whom I named Luna, because I'm oh so creative. Day 29 was the day I remembered to show off my fully planted greenhouse, so here it is. And then I went out trying to tame a mantis. I heard if you gave them a pickaxe, they're good for metal harvesting, so I wanted to get a breeding pair of them. This was a rather interesting process. Run away! Run away! Stop turning. Stop turning. What the fuck did I just say? Yes! Oh, thank God, finally. Where do you think you're going? And then after that, I brought a lower level female home and tamed her up. After that, I hatched the rather hideous looking egg they produced and got myself a baby mantis. And then as I was flying around, another heatwave hit, with yet again no sight of the Phoenix. Day 30 was also the day I found a level 130 fire wyvern egg in the trench, which meant I didn't have to find a level 100 fire wyvern anymore. All of my self-imposed prerequisites to beat the map, aside from beating the manticore on alpha, were completed. On the night of day 30, I began moving all the rock elementals into place under the blue obelisk. Day 31 and I was artifact running. Honestly, I had been expecting more from the artifact caves on this map, but they were rather lackluster, and I was able to collect all 3 artifacts in pretty much no time. Unfortunately, before I could start the boss fight, my curiosity got the better of me. So I decided to read up on the manticore a little bit. Not only does the manticore do torpor damage, which I actually already knew, but you can't bring rock elementals into the boss arena, which meant all of my rock elementals here were now useless. That would have been really nice to know before day 31. So to compensate, I spent the rest of the day hatching Rex eggs to build an army for the Gamma boss fight, which is what I spent the majority of the next day doing as well, though this time I was more imprinting than I was hatching. And day 33 was pretty much just me using the Rexes to kill baby Rexes. Gotta get them gains in somehow. And then by the time day 34 was close to being over, I started to transport all the Rexes over to the blue obelisk. It took damn near until halfway through day 35, but all the Rexes had finally been transferred over to the blue obelisk, and it was time to jump into the battle against the Gamma Manticore. No, Odin's here. Oh fuck, I forgot to get my armor on. Get it on. Shit, can I not wear my armor in here? No, I can't, it's over here. Get 'em, boys. He lands and he just gets swarmed by all my Rexes. And dead.
Nice.
What the fuck? Its body got launched into the sky. What the fuck? I don't understand. And just like that, the Manticore was dead. At least the Gamma difficulty was. Still had 2 more to go. Throughout the boss fight, I had been accompanied by one of my friends who was, well, keeping me company since I had gotten quite bored while I was waiting for everything to get ready for the boss fight. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I actually have a bit of an announcement regarding said friend, so stick around for that. But after the boss fight, I was out in the dunes trying to get the attention of some death worms. I was doing this because I needed black pearls to make the tech replicator. And the only way to get black pearls on this godforsaken map is by killing death worms that don't even have a guarantee of dropping a black pearl. This process alone took me until day 39, where I had to do one more quick artifact run and then start the boss fight against the beta manticore to get the element I needed for the tech replicator. Losing one of them because I brought him in. Okay. Please. Please just land. Get him, boys and girls. Don't throw them at me, please. Whatever you do. A few more rounds of that and he's dead. Kill him! Get him! He's gonna die right here, right now. Fuck yeah! Having slain the beta manticore and received the element that it drops, I was finally able to build and use my tech replicator to craft myself some tech gauntlets and tech leggings. Day 40 was the day I started to put a new grand plan into motion. I was going to be doing some Rex mutation breeding for the Alpha Manticore boss fight, but for me to do that, I needed some more room to be able to mutation breed, and that tiny little breeding platform and hatching platform I had wasn't going to make the cut. So I was going to build a massive platform to replace the both of them. And this process took days upon days upon days of time to build. But before I could finish it, a heat wave struck, and I decided to go fly around. But I had forgotten to hit the record button, because I honestly was not expecting to get as lucky as I did. Are you? Whatever. I don't fucking care what level it is. I need to... Come here. Come here. Oh god, I can't believe I found it. It's level 55. I don't care what level it is. I'm fucking taking it. Ah, I'm out of stamina. No! Come here. Unfortunately, I was not able to tame the phoenix on the dawn of day 48. But now I knew where it was, so I continued the building, which continued up until day 50. And hey, if you're still watching this video, first of all, thank you for sticking through it, and I hope you're enjoying it. And I also wanted to thank all of you for 300 subscribers. I know I've mentioned this in pretty much every video I've put out by now, but none of this would have been possible without all of you watching my videos. Thanks to all of you, my goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers is closer than it ever has been before. So again, thank you for all the support. With everything going on in the world, I'm glad I can be able to bring some form of joy and entertainment to people. Anyway, sorry for the rambling. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. That scheduled programming being more building. That was until I was finally able to tame the phoenix. And then it was back to the process of building the new platform. Until the night of day 59, where it reached a screeching halt because I got my first interaction with the Ark building limit. What? I don't understand. No. Despite my mounting frustration, I continued with playing the game. If I couldn't finish the platform, then I would just have to accelerate my plans a bit. I had just enough room on the platform to build a little hatching area, and then down in the middle is where I would start mutation breeding. So that's what I did. The process of mutation breeding is quite lengthy, and this isn't a guide, so I'm just going to be speeding through this as much as I can. The whole process took me literal hours of my life to do, and I am not sitting through that again. So everything you're seeing on screen now is what I did. I mutation bred for Wyverns and Rexes. In the end, I was able to get a total of 3 health mutations on the Rexes and 1 melee mutation. And you should be able to tell which color mutations I went for. But come day 81, I was finally able to get a baby Rex that had the colors and the mutations I wanted. I then spent up until day 84 waiting for her to grow up. Like literally, I just sat there doing nothing the whole time. Luckily, you don't have to sit through that whole process. Through the power of editing, I have chopped it up and sped it up for you. Day 85 and I had started the mutated Rex army. Day 86 I had all 19 of the Rexes I needed, and then I spent day 87 imprinting them. And day 88. Day 89 I was finally leveling up each of them, and then day 90 was time to start bringing the Rexes over to the blue obelisk. I threw them all out of their cryopods, giving them cryosickness, so that would give me time to get the food to heal them, and it would give me the time to get rid of all the old Rexes I had. And then when day 91 rolled around, I healed the few remaining Rexes that needed it, and jumped into the battle against the Alpha Manticore. All the days of preparation had finally come down to this. That hurts the feel-good times. Can I... Oh, that torpor is not a joke. Hello? Mr. Manticore? Fuck fucking deathworms. I don't know why I'm not. I'm not going to complain about it, though. I've overkilled it. Can you imagine? Oh, God. Get out of my way. Out of my way. Oh, I just took that all to the face. Ow. Get him! Fuck you! That's what I fucking thought. You sucker my dick.
Show me how the grass tastes, little man!
I had finally done it. After weeks of work and grinding and editing, I had defeated the Alpha Manticore, and as such, I had defeated Scorched Earth as well. However, I still had 8 days left, so that meant I had some time to pretty much do whatever I wanted. So I took 6 in-game days of trial and error to get some cinematics ready for the intro of the video. Day 98, I finally set up the Manticore flag and the Alpha trophy. Then come day 99, I had one more battle to take care of. A titanosaur had spawned around the old base, and it was time I took care of it. Come, my children. Attack! Slay the beast. Slay the beast! And that is the end of the journey I went through on Scorched Earth. I sincerely hope you enjoyed the video, especially after the long wait. I know I should have done it sooner. But life got crazy and, well, Scorched Earth took a backseat to some other projects. I'm not gonna lie about that. Now for the announcement I mentioned earlier on in the video. I've been talking with one of my friends that I play Ark with through the Microsoft Store, and I've been a little strapped for time when it comes to recording and editing and all that, so I figured before I jump into Aberration and record that, I would record one other smaller Ark video. How would you all feel about me spending 100 days on Lost Island with him hunting me down? I know that video's likely already been done, but I wanted to see if I could throw a spin on it, or if it would be entertaining for any of you to watch. So if you want to see that video in the future, let me know down in the comments. And of course, if you like this video, throw me a subscribe, a like, or a comment. Any interaction with the channel helps it grow. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.